I plan on building a large residential real estate portfolio in Germany by the age of 40. By then, I want to own at least 200 residential units. Right now, I'm looking to buy my very first deal. I want to start by buying a couple of apartments before eventually moving to larger multifamily properties. That way, I can learn what it actually means to be a landlord and gain real experience owning property myself. This week, I had both a very good viewing and a very bad one. Let's start with the good deal first. Right now, I'm waiting for the final documents so I can finish my due diligence in the property. The property is located in the outer area around Berlin, where demand is still relatively high, but prices are actually reasonable. And honestly, this is the first deal that has genuinely made sense so far. Over the last couple of months, I've probably analyzed more than 100 listings and brokers, and now I'm finally looking at what could potentially become my first investment property. And don't get me wrong, it's not really about finding the perfect first deal. It's more about buying something solid to gain experience and understand the entire process better. Another positive thing is that the owner seems very reasonable and not emotionally attached to the property. From my point of view, getting to the price I need here actually seems possible. So let's get into the key facts. The apartment is currently listed for around 190,000 euros. Starting next month, the apartment will become vacant because the owner is moving out. That gives me the opportunity to rent it out at around 15 euros per square meter at roughly 54 square meters in size. That means the property would already generate positive cash flow from the start. Another huge advantage is that the current owner owns a construction company and already renovated the apartment to a modern standard. So there would be no immediate renovation risk or major additional capital needed up front. Right now, my goal is to negotiate the price down closer to 180,000 euros through arguments coming from the due diligence process. Now let's talk about the bad deal. The second apartment I viewed was located much more centrally in Berlin. Normally that sounds great, but the issue is that the Mietpreisbremse is active there, which is basically a German rent control regulation that limits how much rent landlords are legally allowed to charge. On top of that, the apartment was listed for around 210,000 euros, while the maximum legal rent was around 11 euros per square meter, also at roughly 54 square meters. Under different financing conditions, the deal could maybe have worked. But with current interest rates in Germany combined with the rent restrictions, the numbers simply did not make sense anymore. Another thing you really have to be careful with in Berlin is that some brokers try to convince investors to use questionable tricks to bypass the Mietpreisbremse, as this broker that showed me the flat tried to. I've heard from seniors at my job that this simply does not work reliably anymore. Berlin authorities are checking these things much more aggressively now, and trying to bypass the rules can end up costing you a lot of money. At the end of the day, investing simply comes down to calculating with the numbers you are given. And right now, the first deal clearly makes more sense to me. So we will see how this one develops. I'll definitely keep you updated. Another thing I thought about this week was whether real estate actually is a better investment than simply buying an ETF. I looked up the long-term annualized return of the MSCI World, and historically it has returned roughly 8% annually over the last 20 years. This first deal would generate around 7% yearly return on my actual invested capital from rental income alone. But once you include appreciation and leverage, the return on your actual invested capital becomes significantly higher. In my case, it went up to a yield of 16%. And that is when I really understood the power of real estate. The stock market has performed incredibly well over the last couple of years, but you cannot leverage a yield on your capital with stocks the same way you can leverage it with real estate through financing. So right now my plan is definitely to move some of the gains from my stock portfolio into real estate over time and slowly start building a diversified real estate portfolio. Thank you so much for listening. Until the next one.